Good day, good day, good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another TaLK experience, teach and learn in Korea experience. Generally now just a Korean experience, my love letter to Korea and the people in Korea. Thank you. Just want to say thank you to everybody I've met there. As I make these videos and I talk about these people, what I'm actually doing on Facebook is I'm sending them private messages telling them thank you for being a part of my Korea. And yeah, hopefully I get to everyone. And if I missed some people, I'm sorry. But yeah, that's basically what I'm doing. So we're talking about the foreigners we met, or I met in Gochang. So like I said, it's about 2 months has gone past. In those 2 months, I ran into the one foreigner, Sabrina, the lady that was walking towards her school. I ran into her, and that's how I'm like, cool, my name is at least out there. It wasn't my first month in Gochang that I ran into. Then, the one day I was walking towards the fortress. No, I was going out to buy some shoes. I was trying to look for a shoe store to buy, you know that ASIC shoe store that I told you about? I was trying to find a store like that. And, or I was trying to find that store. Unbeknownst to me, I would find that store. So I was walking, and this other woman walks past me, obviously also foreigner, and later I would find out that her name was Hannah, but she walked past me, I'm like, hey, good day, hi, and she's like, hi, and she starts speaking British, and I'm like, oh crap, my weakness, my one and only true weakness, that British accent. But anyway, and she's like, yeah, no, she's on her way, she's hurrying towards the school, and I'm like, okay, cool, cheers, and she leaves. And so that's the second foreigner I met. The third foreigner I met, finally, the guy who was in control of everything, is Angus. Man, he was awesome. He organized a crap ton of stuff for the foreigners. He was sort of the guy that organizes meetup with foreigners. And what I would later find out is he would meet up, he would welcome new foreigners. But the big thing is, because, okay, TaLK and the TaLK program and the EPIC program are sister programs. You know, they're part of the same thing. But the TaLK program, you know, it's sort of not, you know what I mean? So what happened, it's very difficult to explain, but what happens is, if anyone from EPIC comes into the town, he knows about it. He would know about it, you know? If anyone from TaLK comes into the town, he would know about it, but they'd like, hey, there's a new foreigner in your town, and that's all they say. Because there's no real information giving on where the person lives or whatever. And that's what happened in my case. He knew when I got into Gochang, he knew that an extra foreigner came into Gochang, but he never had any way of contacting the foreigner, and like me. And that was basically the story why it took them so long to actually, why it took us so long to actually meet each other. And Angus was the kind of guy, like, he'd make sure everybody's happy, you know? And I'd say he'd make sure that you feel welcome wherever you go to, you know? And, you know, he'd like contact me eventually, like, hey, want to go there? Crap, I didn't prepare a photo for that. But, you know, he'd take us out to random places and explore random places. Like, he even take me on a hike. Now, I'm not a walker. I do not walk. And he's like, oh, let's go walk there quickly. 10 kilometers later, I'm like, I'm dying. And he's like, no, man, we've just started. You know, his positivity was infectious, you know, which was like quite cool. And through him, I met, like I said, eventually we met up with Hannah. And I think her then boyfriend, I don't know, Dave, was also there. They were both in Korea to teach at a Hagwon in our hometown. And, you know, eventually we got to make some beer together and everything. And eventually I met someone named Steven. Now, I don't want to divulge too much information about Steven, but he's written a book while in Korea, and he was a professor at Guangzhou University. And in his earlier years, and this is quite cool, in his earlier years, he actually taught English to Che Min Suk. I think that's how you pronounce his name. The dude from Old Boy. Yeah, he taught him English. I'm like, holy crap, that's amazing. Um, and he had proof. He had him like there was one memory on Facebook that he shared, and the photo with him, Chaman Sick, and it's like, yeah, I taught this guy before he was famous. I'm like, holy crap, you're awesome. Dave was sort of like a yoga dude, and Hannah was also like yoga inspired and everything. I'd almost say they were vegans, but I don't think they were. And they were pretty damn awesome. Dave was just, I looked at Dave and I'm like, dude, we got to drink. You're a British man. We can drink. And he's like, yeah. And we went out a couple of times, visited them in their apartment and everything. And their apartment was about a 20-minute walk from my place. But it looked out like the one part of the apartment, the front balcony of their apartment looked out over the majority of Gochang, and into the fortress on the side. And if you go to the backside of their apartment or their front door of their apartment, you'd look up into this sort of hill, mountainous hill thing. Like in Korea, mountains, they call it mountains, we call it hills. So you'd look up into this hill area, but it was freaking beautiful. And we spent a couple of times there. I was there for a couple of times. And unbeknownst to me, there was another South African foreigner in the town, but she was on her own the whole time. What was her name? I know her father and my father are friends. But anyway, or they know each other. She was also part of the foreigner group. Eventually, we got to meet, like, I'm going to touch on everybody, and then I'm going to probably, in the future, dedicate the next episode to events surrounding it. So this is just an introductory episode, or introductory video, of the foreigners that I've met. That was her. And then, like, about 6 months after I started living in Korea, maybe a year, no, 6 months. I don't know the correct date yet, but another South African came up called Ernst, and he was pretty damn awesome. He was all chill and everything, and we also hung out a couple of times, and then we found, was it Michael? I think along with him, an Australian dude from Australia pitched up. A dude and his friend from Australia pitched up, and they were also like, also a bunch of fun guys. I mean, they're from Australia. Come on, they're from Australia. They're into a lot of fun. Didn't hang out much with them, mainly because they were on their own missions almost every weekend, or they were on their own thing. It's basically Ernst, Michael, and Kevin was basically doing their things on their own most of the time. So I didn't get to hang out with them as Ernst. I said Ernst. Did I say Ernst? Ernst. So they, I didn't get to hang out with them as much. But Ernst was the guy that like randomly messaged me, is like, hey, do you want to go to New York? And I'm like, okay, cool, because New York was just across from me. So we would go and drink a couple of beers there. Like my downtown area in Gochang was basically where all the bars and stuff were at. And New York was one of the places we quite hung out quite a lot at. And then at some point there was a late entry to the Epic program in our area. Can't remember the guy, but he didn't sit right with me. He did not sit right with me. I was like, didn't sit right with me. I think he lasted like 4 months and then he just left. He was one of the foreigners, the South African foreigners, especially. This pisses me off. But he was one of the foreigners that just would leave, And then there was also another woman, never met her, but she had a kid growing up here, like in Korea. She had a kid in Korea. And that was quite cool. I'm trying to figure out who else did I meet there. That was basically most of the foreigners. I mentioned Steven and his Korean wife. And then there was Gregor. Oh, I can talk to you about Gregor quickly and then I'll call it, because this is the one thing that was quite amazing. Now, Gregor, I think Gregor is actually Australian, but he grew up in. He sounded Scottish or Irish, you know? But he's just this relaxed, laid back guy, deep in his late 40s, I think, or deep in his 40s at the time. And we like. Angus told me the one night, hey, let's go visit Gregor and them. And I'm like, okay, let's go visit Gregor. He's like, but we're going to have to walk. And I'm like, okay, we're going to have to walk. So we walk into this area of Gochang that I've never experienced. And apparently, close to that area was a school that I'll get to in the next video, that Gregor worked at. But he was this relaxed guy. So I get there. We go and sit down, get into their apartment. His kid is running around, quite a cute little kid running around and everything. His wife is there, and Gregor is, I think his wife was Yunmi. That was her name, I think. And we're sitting there, and I'm drinking. I brought beer. I'm like, I'm gonna bring something, and I brought beer, and we start drinking and everything. And Gregor looks at me, and he's like, he says, so, are you happy being here? Are you excited and everything? And I looked at him, I'm like, yeah, I actually am. I'm enjoying my time here and everything. And he looks at me and he smiles and he says, like, you don't have the look of a deer caught in headlights about you. Is this your first time overseas? I'm like, oh, no, 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 no. I've been here. I've been in Korea before. I've been to England and all of that. And he's like, so you don't have. And he's like, yeah, Dave, that's why I don't get the feeling that you're afraid or stressed out about being in a different place, because you've experienced this kind of thing before. And I'm like, yeah. And that was our connection. And every time we'd run to each other, you know, Gregor had this calming effect on you, and that was quite freaking cool. And he also wore traditional, like most of the time he wore traditional Korean garb. In the rest of the world, it would look like pajamas, but it's actually I think it's what the monks would wear, but it's quite expensive to get one made for you. One of those sets made. I don't know what they call it. If you're watching this video and you know what it's called, it's like this. It looks like pajamas, but it isn't. And it keeps you cool during the summer and it keeps you warm during the winter. It is freaking amazing. And I was like, damn, I wish I could. If I could get my hands on that now, I'd probably order myself like 4 or 5 of those things and just walk around it in streams during streaming. Like, that would be my general daily garb. Crap, what is it called? But there's a word for it. I know Christian might know it, or someone in Korea, from Korea, might know what it's called. And if Gregor is watching this, he might actually know what it's called. But that was our experience. And Gregor regularly went on temple stays. Like, I think in the time that I've met him, I think he went on a temple stay at least once every month or once every 2 months. And it's like, holy crap, dude, that's amazing. That's one of the things I missed out on, to be perfectly honest. I did like a semi-temple stay for like 12 hours, and that was it. But I didn't have the money, you know. I had to save money, and I had to use money on other stuff, or stuff that was important. So if I go back to South Korea, I'll probably do a temple stay. Most definitely a temple stay. The temple stay, like what Gregor explained to me is like, it's just, you wake up at like 6 in the morning, you eat, and you do temple stuff. And I'm like, holy crap, that's amazing. And I want to do that. And but Gregor was amazing, and everybody in Gochang was amazing, apart from 1 or 2 characters. One guy I don't even remember, and he was the first foreigner that actually, what was his name? He was the first foreigner that actually like hung out with me quite a lot. But again, he didn't sit right with me. Nothing against him. It was more my thing. But that was quite, oh crap, what was his name? And he reminded me of a friend of mine. And in my mind, I called him that friend's name, but that was not his name. But it was quite, those were the general people that I've met. If I miss someone, I'll probably get to them in a future Gochang story. But yeah, thank you everybody for watching. And I'll see you in the next one.